As urban communities expand, there are more opportunities for interaction between people, pets, and wildlife. Joining us to talk about how to share space with coyote is Cole Caldwell from the Washington State Department of Fish and Wildlife. Welcome to the show, Cole.
Hello, thank you.
Thanks for being here. So, Cole, can you let our viewers know what are the values that coyotes provide people and the environment?
Well, I believe that coyotes provide a suite of values for the community as well as the environment. They have an ecological role for example, they're very astute hunters for rodents, so they perform a service there. So they have an ecological niche where they do primarily feed on rodents, so that's a good thing if you have rodent problems. They also, have an aesthetic quality. They have religious qualities in some communities. They also provide educational components for such as this, and they kind of, depending on where you are, if you're rural or urban, there's different values there, and there's also even a traditional value such as fur trade and clothing and such.
So, wow, yeah. Very interesting. Mm-hmm. And what is the Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife's role in managing coyotes and wildlife?
Well, it depends. So in the state of Washington, coyotes are unclassified wildlife. So that means that there isn't like a set. It is required to have a license and to address these species like via hunting and such, and there's a season for that. However, there's more liberty with this species because it isn't a game species or a conservation species, threatened or endangered species. Mm-hmm. So they're basically unclassified is what they're classified as. And with that, there's more leeway for management flexibility. However, we are still bound within the constrictions of city ordinances, human safety, risk, etc. So we basically take a stance depending on what the situation is, okay, and whether or not if a safety or a risk or a damage component's there, then we kind of step in and work with cities or individuals or communities. Okay. At this level, depending on like the urban setting, mm-hmm, we would work with the city municipality and kind of discover if there is a coyote issue and what that may be.
Okay. So, yeah. And Cole, why are people seeing coyotes in urban areas?
Oh, that's a good one. So there's a lot of reasons. One is urban sprawl and development as humans have developed new areas. Habitat loss and fragmentation occurs. So now coyotes are displaced, and they are going to places where they can make a good living, and that in some cases is the city. They're also, you see they're more visible in a city setting. There's less cover, so there's probably been coyotes around, and you may not see them as much due to their conspicuous nature and so, mm-hmm, forth. And when habitat or new developments occur, or you take out those brush and a new green belt has been displaced or something like that, you may be able to see more coyotes than you regularly would. Mm-hmm. However, I think the coyote is one of those critters that can actually adapt well to the urban environment. There's a few of them out there, and this is one, definitely, and deer are another, and a few others that can actually coexist with us. The question is, can we coexist with them?
Right, exactly. And it is important to remember that this was their home before it was ours. Yes. So, and one final question, Cole. How can people mitigate human-coyote conflict and coexist with coyotes and other wildlife?
Well, that's an even better question. So there's a lot of answers there, depending upon the situation. Like, for example, pet husbandry skills is a great one. So if you have a fenced yard or you don't have a fenced yard, those are different situations. You should have your children and your pet under control, or at least in your, so safety purposes, right? You wouldn't allow your baby to just crawl around the backyard if you knew there was wild animals around. And same with your pet. You should be aware that there could be risks involved, especially if you have an unfenced yard. Fenced yards are probably the best. And if you have a cat, for example, and you let that cat out,
yes,
just be aware that coyotes are active all day. They're mainly active in the early morning or late evening, however, all day. So if you let that cat wander, it may go beyond the bounds of your own house, and that's difficult. And you should also be aware of general coyote behavior. So if you go to WDFWs website, Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife website, there is information about general biology, so you'll understand how the nature of the coyote is. So if you understand its behavior, you may be able to better understand your presence and how to be alert and aware of the situation and how to react or act when you're around a coyote.
Okay, perfect.
Oh, and I should say, sorry, he's so pushy, but there's also attractants and habituation concerns. So if you have your garbage, not with the lid on it, if you have bird feeders, something that would attract rodents or other animals, stuff like that, you should be aware that you could actually be drawing coyotes to you rather than trying to make it less favorable for them.
Well, that was a wonderful, information for our viewers, and thank you so much for sharing that. We appreciate you being here, and we hope that you come back and see us again.
Excellent, I will.
Thanks, Cole. Up next, we have an update on the Accessory Dwelling Units Ordinance. Don't go away.